The predicament of the woman caught in adultery was no less than tragic, and it was a major problem. And if you go by the letter of the law, there would have been no salvation for her. All the Mariteses of the times were all against her, and they brought her not in the sideline, they brought her to the center of attention, the center of hatred, the center of all the rash judgments, the center of all things negative. So if you go by the story of the woman caught in adultery, then you go by the story of a world that seems to accept the reality of war. Then you go to the story of countries that have no more choice but to follow the dictates of a rogue nation like China, dictating on their economics, on their politics, on their culture, and everything else. There is trouble brewing in Sri Lanka because the economy is down, they are deep in debt. There is trouble, of course, going on in the Ukraine, where innocent people are dying, where families are being attacked by Russian soldiers who loot and rob them of whatever they could get, including food and even alcohol. We have problems all over the world. So if you go by the story that is written on dirt, then there is no hope for this woman. And by the way, the story is like the fake news in our times. The woman was caught in adultery, but they never caught the man. Even if it takes two to tango, and it takes three to tangle, they focus on this hapless woman, and they brought her to the center. The center meant some place close to where people gather, the temple, the holiest of holy places. They were doing something unholy in the name of something holy. They were hypocrites. And the Lord didn't want to be take a part in this drama of hypocrisy, in this ballet of unreality. And so the Lord said nothing. They would have co-opted him to a debate. And if he had opened his mouth, then he would have done something that would have earned further hatred and anger from the people who were honorable, the elders, the chief priests, everyone who was somebody. If he had said yes to what they were leading him to, then they would have pounced on him. If he had said no, then they would have pounced on him all the same because he does not follow the teachings of Moses. It was a trap that had no equal, no parallel. It was a classic trap laid by those who say, let us lie in wait for the good person because he is obnoxious to us. Our reading yesterday or the other day, first reading, that word obnoxious is heard only once upon a time in schools like Ateneo, Assumption, St. Scholastica. That is a $64 word. And this is what they do to the woman now. And they brought her to no less than the center of town with the teacher present. And they said to him in their pretended moralistic tone, "Teacher, this woman was caught in the very act of committing adultery." And then they proceeded. Now in the law, Moses commanded us to stone such women. So what? Anong say mo? Anong bet mo? What do you want to do? And John was straightforward when he said, in this very terse statement, they said this to test him so that they could have some charge to bring against him. Patibong, it was a trapula, it was a trap. And it was a brilliantly designed trap in order to catch the Lord in his weakest moment. But the Lord, who knew their intention, bent down, began to write on the ground with his finger. He bent down to dirt and began writing on dirt. And my question for us today is, what do you write on dirt? If you face dirt right now, because your savings are gone after 2 years of pandemics, maybe one of your daughters or sons lost his or her job, maybe some of your children have stopped studying, maybe you're facing a whole lot of debts to pay, you're facing dirt. And my question for you today is, what do you write on dirt? If what you write on dirt is, may gera sa Ukraina, buti nga, then you have written dirt on dirt. May problema sila sa Sri Lanka, buti nga, kumampi kasi sa China. Then you're writing dirt on dirt. If you say, all of a sudden I'm so healthy, but all of a sudden I have cancer, I must have done something evil, I must be a very bad person. God must not love me. Tinitikis ako ng Diyos. Then what are you doing? You're writing dirt on dirt. But I'd like to tell you that there are people who don't write dirt on dirt. When they face dirt, they look up. Helen Keller was one of them. I had the fortune of living through times when she was still alive. She came to Manila in 1963. I was grade 1. I never met her in her talk at the Maryknoll College at the time. But she made it to all the radio programs in Manila, in the Philippines at the time. Helen Keller once said, ships don't sink because of the water around them. Ships sink because of the water that gets into them. So, if we are facing dirt and we say, walang mapiling kandidato, lahat ay either backed ng US or backed by China or backed by communists or backed by big businesses or maraming record or baguhan, bagito, walang alam, or pera lang ang hawak, and so on. Then, dirt. What do we write on dirt? If we write hopelessness, then we are not Christians. Today, the Lord tells us so many things, but one of the things that juts out of me, right from the page, this page of the Gospel of John, is that the Lord wrote on dirt. Nobody tells us what the Lord wrote. Some people say He wrote the sins of those who were accusing the woman. Some scholars say He wrote words of hope. Some say He wrote this or that. Nobody tells us. John doesn't tell us what the Lord wrote, but he tells us what he did. He bent down on dirt, almost like kissing dirt, without doing the other dirty job of accusing somebody who already was repentant. The woman caught in the very act of committing adultery. Maybe the Lord wrote the names of all those who were taking advantage of her, who were most likely raping her. Maybe the Lord wrote anything but what the Lord wrote drove home the message. And what was that message? You cannot write dirt on dirt. You have to write something positive, something hopeful, something salvific, something that lifts us up from the mire. When the Lord bent down and almost kissed dirt and wrote on the dirt, he must have written something that struck at the chords of the heart of the people. And so they all went away one by one. And then there was this very, very intimate moment, a face-to-face moment, hindi digital, hindi ito through Bluetooth. It was a face-to-face moment of intimacy with a God of mercy and a God of compassion. And the Lord, after telling everybody else, let the one among you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone at her, and then bent down again and wrote on the ground. And in response, they went away one by one, beginning with the thunders, beginning with the most honorable, beginning with those, everyone who was somebody, everyone who had titles, everyone who had an office and a position. They all went away one by one. And so he was left alone with the woman before him. And Jesus straightened up and said to her, rising from dirt, he now writes something that is not dirty. Woman, where are they? Has no one condemned you? And she replied, no one, sir. And this is what Jesus wrote. This is a message of hope. This is a message of new life. This is a message that never writes off anyone. This is a message for you and me, caught in the dirt of so much politics and so much division, caught in the dirt of division even from among us church people who side with Putin, even priests and religious who side with Putin, and those who side with the NATO and America, and those who condemn both. But we are all in the same boat. We are all surrounded by water, but it is not the water that sinks the boat, around the boat, but the water that gets into the boat. Has no one condemned you? No one, sir. And Jesus said, neither do I condemn you. Helen Keller was born capable of hearing and talking and seeing. But at her 19th month, after a mysterious illness, she lost all capacity to see, hear, and talk. But she had a wonderful person who did not write dirt on dirt. Anne Sullivan took pains to teach her how to talk, how to recognize sounds, by just asking Helen to touch the throat, the lips, and the nose. 3 fingers, touching the throat, the lips, and the nose. And she learned how to talk. And that girl that was known as deaf, mute, and dumb, na talagmaks sa putik, sabihin natin, rose up, transcended dirt, and became a world-renowned speaker who brought hope to everyone she met. My dear friends, I repeat my question, and this is a question that you should need to answer for the whole week, beginning today. What do you write on dirt? Okay, granted that there is so much dirt around us, granted that there is so much water surrounding our boat, what do you allow to enter the boat? What dirt, what type of things do you write on dirt? Helen Keller wrote hope. The Lord wrote forgiveness. The President Abraham Lincoln battled depression all his life, but he wrote freedom and emancipation. What things do you write on dirt?